Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting.
Consistently attract soulmate clients. Begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, lightworkers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalyn Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business. Enjoy this light language activation as we begin to magnetize and monetize. Hello, welcome my loves to another episode here. Today we are going to be focusing on creating your most powerful self through the method of Inner Mosaic. Before we get there and introduce my special guest, I really wanted to have you check in to see how it's going for you in your business, in your soul-led business, how it's going for you with generating leads and how it's going for you for closing your sales. Are you hitting your goals? Are you noticing you're shifting your beliefs around things? How's that going? If you're noticing you're not where you want to be and you're open to having help, I'd love to see if it'd be aligned for you to work together with me. You can go to www.electrifymybusiness.com to apply and also book a call in with me. I'd love to see how we can co-create together. So in today's episode, we are going to really be focusing on you and your relationships. You know, many of us can probably relate, both in our personal and professional lives, that relationships are everything. And sometimes, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your sibling, whether it's your VA or your marketing team, sometimes there can be like a which then energetically can take us out and we're not operating at our best. So I really want to jam on this conversation with my special guest today, who hails from Hawaii. So I'm very excited. And introduced by a mutual friend. She's one of your mastermind peers. She's a friend of mine. She's a peer here, and we got introduced through one of my clients. So it's just so beautiful how we all can create community and meet together. I love it. So who I have here today is Samantha Cowell, and she is an author, speaker, former licensed marriage and family therapist, which that's what I was too. So we're just like, oh my gosh, we're so much
yeah.
She's an Inner Mosaic coach and founder of The Gems with Samantha Cowell, an international coaching and training company focused on helping women to overcome their biggest blocks and unlock their greatest potential. Yes! She has been recognized as a leading expert on relationships and is on a mission to help restore trust and faith in the world. Samantha has been featured on Fox, ABC, CBS, and other local publications and podcasts, sharing her unique views on relationships. Samantha has also held the title of Miss East Oahu International in 2020. Congratulations, love, to celebrate and share her own inspirational story of creating her marriage miracle. Let's welcome Samantha. Hello, love. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you, Rosalyn. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's so amazing to have you, and I can't wait to do jamming with you more about this. So the question I usually ask my guests first is, please share with us how you got to be who you are today and be doing and creating what you have today in the world.
Yeah, thank you for asking. It really, and I would guess I've listened to, a few of your podcasts, but I'm sure majority of the people you talk to, like this is their life mission, right? This is their
Yes.
life purpose, their calling. And I really believe that everything that I'm doing today was divinely orchestrated through
Mm,
my life events. So really how I got here today was just being me and living my life. As a young child, I was a product of a child of divorced parents. So
mm,
before I was even 6 months old, they were separated. And before I was two, they were divorced. And having, that impact in my life at such a
mhm,
young age really played out in my life in many different ways, from moving around many times, from having a blended family, and then even having loss. I had a lot of loss as a young child. My uncle, who was my second father figure at that, or
mhm,
maybe my first father figure at that point, because my dad was out of the picture, he passed away when I was 7, and it was just this tremendous feeling of loss, compiled by my grandfather passing, my auntie passing right after him,
mhm,
and so, um just relationships in general were such a theme for me growing up, and feeling very, now that I have the words for it, but I empathic, very tethered to the emotions of other people. And so over time, I had a lot of different experiences in relationships, even leading up to becoming a teen mom with my
mhm,
then high school sweetheart, and really creating life from there, right? So
mhm,
we waited, then we got married, bought a house, had 2 more children. I went to grad school, like we both continued our
wow.
school education, and then we found ourselves on the brink of divorce, right? We found ourselves really struggling because we grew up
Mhm,
together. We were children
mhm,
when we first got together, and overcoming that particular challenge, being that as a child, I told myself, I swore to myself that I would never get divorced like my parents. And here I was on the
mhm,
brink of divorce and about to split up my family. And yeah, it was such a turning point for me in my life, and being able to walk through that dark night of my soul and come out the other side and
mhm.
still intact in my marriage has
Congrats.
been a major accomplishment, let alone
Major.
when that was happening, I was about to graduate, from grad school in marriage and family therapy. So it was like I was a hot mess, but really, it's defined the work that I do today by being able to not
Mhm,
only have the professional education of how to support people in their relationships, but just the personal curriculum that I had. One of
mhm.
my mentors, Mary Morrissey, she always says, the content of our lives are the curriculum to our evolution. And it
Ooh,
really was.
yes.
Yeah, the
I love
content was totally the curriculum for me. The content of my life was the curriculum to not only evolve me, but to support others in their relationship evolutions as well. So that's, I mean, really how I got to where I am today.
that is so powerful, and that's so poignant. I love how that quote is so much truth. It really
Mhm.
is, right? Even when we are working with our for soulmate clients, they're usually former versions of ourselves that
Yes.
they see us as mirrors of hope because they see that we went through what they're currently going through. So I think that's really powerful. Wow.
Thank
And so
you.
I'm really curious, what happened? We were just to zoom in a little bit more with
Yeah.
your on the brink of divorce. What steps exactly? And I'm sure this is part of your inner mosaic. Maybe actually we'll start there. Like, tell us a little bit about because inner mosaic was birthed, and if you
Yes.
can share a little bit more about that, and then maybe embed it back into your story of how you really um, you and your husband were shifted totally into the miracle marriage then.
Yeah. And so what, I'm like thinking where to start, but yes. Okay. So let me start with the Inner Mosaic in
Yeah.
general. And it started because we were I was in school to be a therapist and learning all of these different modalities. And I actually started working before I graduated, started working in the substance abuse field.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked with addiction and helping these, individuals to overcome that. And what I found is that through a blend of different modalities, I started doing what I called shadow work, but I didn't realize that that was a thing before I called it shadow work. The real birthing place that I got that name from was from a comic strip, to be quite honest. It was a comic strip of,
Really?
yeah, it was a comic strip of this man looking at his shadow, and he was actually running away from his shadow. He was scared of it. And whenever you run away from your shadow, what happens? It gets bigger, right? Your shadow grows. And
Mm-hmm.
then the next image was of him turning around and like facing his shadow and then walking towards his shadow, which of course the opposite happens. It gets smaller. And then at the very end, the last image of this comic strip was he was like holding the shadow in the palm of his hand, but they were also like almost embracing one another. And it was so
Deep comic
beautiful.
strip.
Right. It was so beautiful, so symbolic. I saw that comic strip really, I think, when I was going through my darkest night of my soul. And it was so helpful and so impactful that obviously I was doing some of this work simultaneously to me going through my dark night. So I was also using this to support other people. And eventually over time, what I realized is that I'm not only helping people because their shadow symbolizes the part of themselves that they're hiding from the world, that they're, really ashamed of and not wanting to look at, which essentially is the nature of the regular shadow work, right? And I realized that I didn't only want to work with people's shadows, that I wanted to work with all the different parts of themselves, really coming from this lens of like internal family systems. For those of you who have some psychology background, internal family systems, just in general, just the parts, right? So inner child work and so forth. And so one day I did some brainstorming with my oldest daughter, and because they're like the best people to brainstorm with and mastermind with is your children. But I was brainstorming with her, and we came up with the new title or name of the modality, which was Inner Mosaic, because it really is internal work. And there
Yes.
are all these parts and pieces of yourself that unless we acknowledge all the parts of you, we're not able to see the beautiful mosaic, the beautiful work of art that it is, right? Some pieces may be black and dark and ugly and scary looking and sharp and ragged and like all their edges, right? But when we place it into the grander scheme of everything, it becomes this beautiful mosaic. So that's truly where that came from. And to tie that back into my marriage, did I did that inner work in order to save my marriage. And the really like just to kind of hone in on the parts that really made an impact in saving my marriage, it was really me coming to this place of knowing that my marriage was a perfect reflection of my own operating systems, my internal operating systems. Because in personal development, we know that our our results are a perfect reflection of our thinking, of our paradigms, of our belief system. So I'm like, okay, well, why doesn't this apply to relationships? So I took the application straight over to relationships, and I said, okay, my husband is a reflection of something I believe. And I told myself too, I made a firm decision that I wasn't going to leave this marriage until I was a whole person. Because heck, if I was going to leave and date someone else, I didn't want to be broken still. So I was going to leave a whole person. And so I slowly but surely started to work on all the different parts of myself and acknowledge who was driving the bus at any given moment in time. Sometimes it was a 3-year-old me throwing a major tantrum. So it was a younger, just a 16-year-old me really being very codependent. And learning to trust all the different parts of myself really is what the Inner Mosaic work is about. Learning to acknowledge, embrace, and then trust all parts of myself, and all parts of myself trusting me. And that's when the magic began to happen. That's when I saw the transformation in myself. But one of my other teachings is that it only takes one person to transform a relationship.
Yes.
Based off of the systems theory, right? You change one part of a system, by law, the system must change or come to a natural completion. So in essence, I knew that either my marriage would come to a beautiful completion and we would know that it's complete, it's done, or he would rise up to the occasion with me, and he sure did. He rose up. So
that's so beautiful. There's so many pieces I want to like jump in and be like, oh my gosh. And of course, they're like leaving my head. So I'm going to come back. First of all, thank you for sharing your story. Like, wow. I don't know what the statistics are. Maybe you do, about how many high school sweethearts type of stories, or teen moms, or stay with the father of the child. So like, that's pretty incredible. And it does go to show, and even with Dan and I, he's often a guest on my show. We call ourselves Pleasure in the Bedroom and Bank, because he's a financial planner.
Oh,
and I bring in my background as a marriage and family therapist, and to have healthier communication with money with their partners. And so we are seen as a power couple, and we tell people it's because we do the inner work. It's really important. It's not easy to have a successful relationship. It does take work, and that starts with our relationship with ourselves. And that's exactly what you're sharing. And I'm also really curious. Did your husband go and also do his own work as well? Did you go for couples therapy? Because
that's a great question.
And I'm curious about how that unfolded.
Yeah. So, obviously everybody is on their own timeline. Nobody has, can't make him do nothing. So what I did was I went through the traditional route. This is me learning the hard way, right? I was like, I'm a marriage and family therapist. We have to go to couples counseling. You have to get help. Really what started our downfall in our marriage was me discovering that he had an addiction that he was hiding behind my back for 10 years. So I was a substance abuse counselor at that point, and I was like, I'm married to an addict. Oh my gosh, what's happening? And I was doing all the things that I think most women do, or men, but just most spouses that are what I identify as the change agent normally do, is shove the partner into like, go get help. You need therapy. We need couples counseling, da, 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 da. And we did do it, but it didn't work. It didn't help because he wasn't in the readiness to change that he needed to be in order to receive the support and receive the help. So a lot of what I teach on is one person transforming, being the catalyst to transform the relationship. And that's really what happened. So after our failed marriage counseling, that's when I began to look at just me as becoming the change agent to the relationship. And so he did go to individual therapy because I kicked him out of the house and he wanted to come home. And he did do couples counseling, but it really didn't help. And then I feel like he's done the work kind of in his own time, in his own space.
Beautiful.
And even till today, like, I love going to workshops and trainings and having a coach and all these support people. And he has his own way of, working on him. But I have to say, he's always, as much as I can go back to that place of, you're not working on yourself and you're not doing anything. The reality is he's growing with me. He truly is one of the greatest gifts in my life to reflect back to me where I can use more work.
Right? Because everything
Yes.
is neutral until we put meaning to it, and how we do that based on our
Exactly.
belief system. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, I want to say we're growing together, but in our own on our own terms and in our own way.
Yes.
And he's just a beautiful example of how things don't. I might think that there's only one way to do it, or this is the way that I like to do it, and it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be that way. But he's absolutely 100% growing with me.
That's beautiful. And it matters about that, because I know there's a lot of um, people out there, couples out there who are thinking, well, and actually Dan and I get this question quite a bit. What if one person's more into personal or spiritual growth and their
Yeah.
partner isn't really, like they're not doing their own work? And Dan and I actually jammed about this one time on a live, which I think the most important piece is you are able to still be in the container together and have open discussion, like not necessarily, even my husband, he's super open to spirituality and the energy work, but he's absolutely not at the same level as I am.
Yes.
And that's okay. But what then allows it to work for us, because he's a financial planner, he's way more like, left brain. What works for us is that, and he answered this, is he's interested in asking questions how it's going for me, even though it might not be his thing. He's very interested, and that makes me feel seen and heard, and I'm not imposing on him, just like you kind of mentioned earlier, right? I used to as well. Not the spirituality, was actually when I was struggling food and body image, and I was like projecting like, well, you need to be working out and you need to be eating like this.
Yes, totally.
But like there's none of that. It's just like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is what came through, blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, wow, that's really fascinating, right? Like he's actually quite interested, genuinely, rather than just kind of like, hey, and then switching topic. Like that's not my husband. But I know that.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And so coming back to, it really comes back to communication, isn't it, Samantha? Like it's all about reflecting on ourselves. So, wow, like that's amazing. So how long have you guys been together now?
Actually, so we've been together for 15 years now? No, 16 years. And our 10th wedding anniversary is coming up this June. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey, and yeah, really speaking to the part of you that says that, your husband is really just genuinely interested, and that's how he stays on his green growing edge, interested with you. For me, my husband, I'm actually very grateful that the dynamics that we have, because he grounds me and he keeps me in my human experience, which I want to be in, when I can go off into the clouds. So we actually become a very cool dynamic, instead of us both off into the clouds. Like he's very much here with, present, asking beautiful questions, but so supportive. Like if I have a dream, he is my greatest cheerleader. He's just like, yes, do it. I believe in you. You can do it. And I'm like, yay. So I think if we were both off on different dreams, in different, on different paths, it could definitely cause some tension. But for us, we dream together, and then he lets me kind of take that creative role while he kind of takes the more stable, steady, grounded role. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so like if we were bring it back to what I'm really hearing is, when it comes to you with your clients, they are interested in growing themselves because they see themselves. I don't know how aware they are when they come see you, but it sounds like you're working on helping them see that how we show up, the unconscious parts of us, and how that shows up will impact energetically how the relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship, maybe something in their business, that all impacts. And it starts with our psychology. It starts with how we go into a relationship with ourselves and which parts come out. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it's really about when you're saying like how do my ideal clients show up? They're really showing up as very frustrated with not being able to create the change that they want to see in their lives, in their family. They're so good at seeing what can grow. I guess that's a way of saying it. The areas that can grow and improve and transform, and yet they feel very frustrated with themselves in not being able to help people change and help themselves change in ways that feel really good to them. It feels really forced and really conflicting, and so they're feeling really stuck and frustrated. And yes, and then what I then share with them is that in order to create the external changes in your life, we need to go find the internal blocks. We need to find where your kink in the hose is, what subconscious beliefs are creating your reality. And I do that through looking at the different parts of themselves that I say were created through the imprints and the impactful moments in their lives. Mhm.
Yes. Wow, that's really powerful. And so I know we'll be going into commercial soon and we'll continue jamming into this, but what would you say are your top, like when your clients come see you, what are their top concerns? So they're frustrated because is it usually romantic relationship or like what else
It
is it?
tends to be their romantic relationship, their partnership, marriage, spouse,
Okay.
but it can also be their family member. So a parent,
Mhm.
an aging parent, or even a child, an adult child that's now transitioning and their relationship is shifting. So those are
Mhm.
some of the main relationships that can be
Okay.
show up. Mhm.
Okay, so then when we're gonna go into commercial, so when we come back, we'll actually jam a little bit more of how you walk your clients through using the Inner Mosaic method.
Nice, thanks.
Om Times TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
Are you feeling maxed out working one-on-one with clients and you're deeply desiring to scale your business for more time freedom without sacrificing your income, but rather expanding it? Many of my clients who are light workers, healers, practitioners, and even coaches, they're often multi-modality, are coming to me because they are sick and tired of working with clients on a one-off session model where the clients are coming in on an as-need basis. Or if they're selling packages, they are selling them in the sense of buy 5, get 1 free, or the greater the number of sessions, the greater the discount. The problem with this is it's still a dollar for hours business model. And so that leaves the practitioner feeling really exhausted and overwhelmed from having to put so much time, effort, and energy in finding new clients that they're not operating in their most elevated self with their current clients. And so if this is you, I would love to share with you that it's time to elevate your business and scale it to sell high ticket one-on-one programs or even group programs. This will allow you to have more deeper impacts because you're raising your clients' results, you're scaling your business, and you're having that time freedom you deeply are yearning for. If this is resonating with you, love, I'd love to invite you to come on a soul business alignment call with me so that you can stop feeling like you're on this roller coaster ride and start to feel safe and stable and even having fun in your business and your finances. Please go to electrifymybusiness.com to apply and we'll hop on a call. I can't wait to connect.
If I could be you and you could be me for just 1 hour, if we could find a way to get inside each other's minds, walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
All right, welcome back, my love. So just right before the commercial, Samantha and I were speaking about what the top challenges are that present themselves when her clients connect with her. And so tell us a little bit about how you begin with your clients when they're seeking support to get out of this frustration.
Yeah, I let's see, where do I begin? It really is mindset work. It's really helping them to understand the principles that are going to support them in their transformation. So really understand, like, the biggest mind shift for most people is understanding that their partners are a reflection of their internal operating system or belief system, because it's so easy for us to point the finger and say, no, he just or she just needs to change or stop doing this or being better or communicate or go to therapy. So it's so much easier to identify what's wrong with the other person instead of owning what part we play in this challenge that we're facing. So really the beginning work is really restructuring their internal operating systems and reinforcing the belief. So many of times my clients come back and they're like, this is hard. This is hard work. And slowly, yeah, it is. Slowly but surely they're able to catch themselves in retrospect, and then eventually proactively they're able to stop themselves and really put on this attitude of gratitude for their partner, for themselves, for the curriculum in their lives, and then go from that point of gratitude forward. So yeah, that's that's the main work that I do when my clients first show up.
That's powerful. Well, and I love how, like, as I'm hearing that, what I'm really hearing is you help people take personal accountability, really looking at what's my part in this, right? And so it sounds like then you go deeper with helping them see, because it's a concept of mirrors, and that what's triggering them is actually something within them and not really about their partner. And so, yeah, being able to take personal responsibility and then going to deeper parts of themselves. Do you do subconscious work as well with your clients?
Yeah, well, I mean, the subconscious work really comes through when we're talking to the different parts of themselves. So we do like internal dialogue. When I actually break it all down, we personify all the different parts. So we go back and figure out which part is coming forward. It's not just inner child work because there's many different parts of ourselves. So modify that part, that imprinted part. Maybe it's a 12-year-old version of yourself. I have a 3-year-old version. So an example, I have a 3-year-old part of myself who's really bold, brave, courageous. She at 3 years, saw a bunch of children dancing on center stage at the largest mall on Oahu, and I asked my mom at that point, I was like, go do that. I want to dance on stage and sing on stage. And not thinking that I would respond the way that I did, she said, well, you're have to ask the lady after the show is done. And instead of being scared of approaching an adult, I said, okay. And I waited till the show was done. This lady, sure enough, I asked her, I want to join. I want to dance and sing like the other kids. And she said, sure. So I joined their dance company, and months later was singing on center stage in a pink tutu. Like, I was doing my own solo act. So that part of me personified her, right? She's 3 years old. She loves to dance and sing on stage. She loves being the center of attention. And I captured that. So she actually comes through every now and then in my life when she's triggered, and I have to have a conversation with her, right? And sometimes she's actually the one encouraging me because she's the brave, bold one in me.
Right. That's what I was thinking. I was like, can we trigger her all the time? So she's just like,
she's the one that shows up. Yeah, to say, so yes, Sam, go for it, do it, have fun. Yeah. Like what do you got to lose? So having those internal dialogues, I believe, becomes the subconscious work, because we are now creating a whole new circuitry of communication within self, right? Yeah.
Right. So powerful. And so then how does that apply as our audience is tuning in? We're getting to think a little bit more about, okay, what parts of you, and that means I'm also going to go back to like systems, and I was very solution focused. I was solution based focused therapy.
Yeah. I love that too.
Somatic, so I over time learned and got certified in Haikomi, which is a somatic approach. And so what it means is, how do I stand in relationship with myself, and how do I stand in relationship with others? And so to this day, I still use that method because it's so deeply important, right? And it sounds very similar in terms of like, we look at those parts of ourselves. And I love that you empower people with their inner child, because oftentimes we hear, oh, it's bad, it's bad. No, it's not bad. And I hear people say, I hate my inner child, I'll just get rid of them. I'm like,
oh,
no. We love our inner child. We need to understand.
Yeah. I even go to the extent of, I know people talk about the inner critic. I actually love to debunk that myth of an inner critic, because there's no part of yourself that you ever want to hide from the world or get rid of. They're all equally important and beautiful. And so I'm all about like embracing and really finding their light. Like each and every part of you has a light. Like, let's go find that. And they are an important as you are today. So if we take that away from you, you're not you anymore. Like that's not good. We want you. We want all of you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's like remembering that, because at the very core of us, we want to feel loved, safe, and belong. It's like the inner child has certain behaviors, patterns that they learned out of survival in their unconscious brain, because that's usually where we operate until the age of 8, right? So it's like I always like to use an analogy. You create a life jacket when you're that young age, and it's trying to still wear that life jacket now as an adult. It doesn't quite fit anymore.
I love but it's so brilliant. So true.
Yes. It's so brilliant with this life jacket, and it's okay that it doesn't fit it. Well, it's not serving and supporting anymore, that it doesn't fit anymore. And that's not a bad thing. So those who are listening, I love that we're on the same wavelength here, Samantha. It's just like, those are parts of us to be honored. And it's like, that was so brilliant back then, and it worked. So of course it got reinforced that this life jacket works. And as we evolve, it doesn't work so well anymore. It doesn't fit.
Yeah. So it really, what I recognize in, inner child work is going back to that point in time and really giving you the love that you needed in that moment. But really, inner mosaic work, the way that the slight differentiation here is that we're actually bringing that part of you forward into the here and now and allowing them to have a new experience. So it's not repatterning the old, but it's truly just allowing them to live into this new experience and help them to, like you said, really release the old life jacket that worked then and create a whole life raft or whatever that might be today. Like, okay, so what's the new way for us to approach these challenges here and now with more support? Like, back then there was one of you because you were only 3, 7, whatever, right? You were tiny. And now there's like a whole bunch of us because lots of us were talented. If you've ever watched the movie Inside Out, right, from Disney. There's all these different parts, right? Emotion in there, it's emotions, but and as the panel grows, as the experience broadens, there's more of us to support each other. And that's really what that looks like now. So yeah, I love that analogy.
And you also have a certification for the Inner Mosaic. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Sure. I will be really transparent and honest. It's really a budding program. It's something that was sparked from the infinite last year, in 2021, that I've had many people ask me more and more about the Inner Mosaic and how they can help bring this to the world. And so, I have, right now I have 5 coaches under me that are in their year-long certification process. And they're helping to support me in sharing and helping others to find their inner mosaic. And each of them also went through the process themselves. They're very in tune with their own inner mosaic, the parts of themselves. And I love just supporting others to share this work worldwide. So that really is the goal, is to help people who need the help in this particular way, in this particular modality.
I'm really in awe of you because that just takes guts to be like, first of all, amazing and how powerful that there are. I'm assuming they went through it because they were your clients and they're like, holy moly, this method is so powerful. Like, can we learn this? Like, that's incredible. And then you be bold and be like, let me just create a program and like that's incredible. How I want to speak to that part because I know as people are also listening, there's that bold, brave 3-year-old self that's like, let's do this.
Totally came out.
I'm curious, like for you and your personal process to put yourself out there, because I know that out here, my listeners very much are attracted to listening to me because there's some part of them still hiding a bit, whether they might be showing up, but then they're like, oh, I'm not quite fully showing up. And I feel like you here, it's like you're taking yourself and your business to this other level, and that requires that deep internal boldness to come out. So I'm really curious, was that process for you like scary? Was there resistance coming up? I'm really curious about having you share this.
I wouldn't say, I think fear is a constant companion. I'm quoting people at this point. Fear is a constant companion on your green growing edge, on your evolution. So unless I'm stop growing, then fear will always be with me. So yes, it was definitely scary to say the least.
I want to say, audience, did you hear that? Okay, fear doesn't go away.
No.
What Samantha has done is befriend her fear and not see it as an enemy, not see it as like the thing that's going to be the excuse that stops you. It's like, and I say this, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's like, as long as we're stretching outside of our comfort zone, of course we're going to feel fear. It's just a feeling though. It's usually false evidence appearing real.
Exactly. And it's just the unknown. We just never done this before or yet, right? And that's okay. That's a good thing. So yes, it was definitely scary. What did I tap into? I mean, I really steps in our business, in our lives, what I do, what I really have come to learn to do, to take what I consider massive imperfect action,
I love it.
yeah, is really get out of me. Like, get out of my own head, get out of myself. Like, who am I doing this for? What am I doing this for? It really is something that was being asked of me at this point. So it's like, who am I to deny people of wanting to share this good to others? Like, who am I to not try and just take the leap of faith and do it, like you said, do it scared, do it anyways. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Okay, I can fall flat on my face, but guess what? I'm going to learn a bunch of things. I'm going to have so much more room to grow, more information to help evolve my business. And the best case scenario is that it works. And it did. So,
Yes, and I think that's what we forget to ask ourselves is, what is the best case scenario? I love that question because and I will say me too. Like, my automatic, and I think for most of us, is oh my God, what's the worst case scenario? Like, what if this happens? And we go into the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But we forget that there's also the question of what's the best case scenario? What is possible? And that just opens us up to a new and new confidence to step into. So I imagine this is how you also walk your clients through this too, right? Because when it comes to changing, it's not easy in general. So coming back to reflecting on how they're showing up, and I'm going to assume educated guess, but probably boundaries is a big one. Like, speaking up for your truth, saying things that it's like, stop people pleasing. Let's just actually say the thing you want to be saying rather than being passive aggressive or whatever that looks like, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I tend to, I mean, I use the word boundaries because it's just within our language, of course, as,
Yes.
relationship experts. But what I do prefer actually is the word structure and support, like a structure of support versus boundaries. Because what I've learned is that boundaries create barriers and borders, whereas structures of support actually create
Love that reframe.
so can be conducive of generating energy and flow, and it gives people direction, right? So instead of the boundaries and the borders, I talk about structure and support in order to guide the people around you, to give them some kind of a structure on how to respect you, on how to communicate with you. So I tend to shift the word boundaries to structure or support. Yeah.
But that is right. Some people see boundaries as walls, as barriers. And I guess what's more important is that it's so much more about like the perspective. So do you have a client share, like, or a common theme with helping the audience understand how to implement structures and systems of support?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a beautiful question. And it really comes organically when we're talking about, like what's showing up in my clients' lives.
Right.
But when it comes to creating that structure, it, again, like, not to be repetitive, but it really goes back to, like, what would you love? What would this part of you love? What would that part of you love? And really understanding the overarching vision for all of you, and then just communicating that in a way of, I would love us to go on a date night once a week. I would love us to have these deeper, meaningful conversations, at nighttime before we go to bed. And starting with that phrase, what would I, or question, what would I love, really is the best way to create that structure, instead of, I don't want you to do this and I don't want you to do that, and really the borders start to rise. Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking at, okay, what's happening and how can I speak my truth and frame it in a way that's inviting support.
Inviting
win,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's, I always say that every act is either, and this is not me, this is coming from A Course in Miracles, but every act is either a call for love or an expression of love, no matter how
Yes.
unskilled it may seem. And really, I let people presence that. So it's not about telling your
Beautiful.
partner what to do or not to do anymore, because that's
Yeah.
really looking
That
at it
doesn't
from
work.
a
We all know
lens.
that.
Yeah, it's definitely a lens that will only create more of the same. So yes, the structure really starts from a place of love. What would love do here? Right.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. And so we're going to go into meditation soon, but Samantha, if those people who are tuning in, they're like, "Ooh, I want to like come into your world a little bit more. I know you have different offers. Sometimes you run workshops, you have your coaching certification. Of course, people can see you personally. How can they best get a hold of you?"
Yes, I think the best way to get a hold of me is through my website. It's www.theggems, so TheGems, theggems.com. It has all of everything. It has everything
Oh,
there. So
good.
that's
Okay,
the
that's the
best way.
easiest way. And you're also on social media, on Instagram. Maybe you can drop your handle there. This will all be in the show notes, but as people are only listening, then at least they have that.
Yeah, if you want to follow me and my business, either on Instagram or Facebook, it's the Gems Coaching. So TheGemms Coaching, and you'll be able to find me there.
Beautiful. Thanks, love. Super appreciate that and your amazing wisdom. I love that when we met, we're just like, oh my God, we're so much alike. We have such a big
I
background.
know. How did we
Cool.
not meet each other sooner? Yeah.
Ah, divine timing. I love it. So what we're all going to do is I'm going to invite us to start to turn inward and just tuning inward. You can close your eyes or have a soft gaze and just really breathing in and then sighing out. And as you breathe in next, I just want to invite you to take your attention on what's really standing out the most for you today in my conversation with Samantha. Don't overthink it, just let it come up. What's the thing that just really stood out? Whether it was a positive to you or a negative to you, was kind of triggering, was kind of like, oh, I really need to look at that. Or it was like, oh, yeah, that's a confirmation. So as you breathe in, just notice how whatever is standing out for you is landing for you. How is it showing up inside? What sensations? What energy are you feeling? There's no right or wrong. Just noticing. And if what's standing out for you is more in the energy of triggering or recognizing that this isn't working for you, there's aspects that aren't working for you about yourself. Just notice that and how that's showing up. And just take a breath in, not trying to make it go away or push it or shame it. Just compassionately and curiously observing. And then also focusing on the possibilities of a new way to be. Or if their statement was a confirming one or an aha of a new way to be, just really like letting yourself notice how that's showing up in your body. Lightness, flowing, tingling. So with all this, breathe in and just noticing all that's occurring inside. And envisioning how you want it to be. Seeing your future self in your most powerful, potent, loving self showing up in the world with all parts of you. Feel her, see her, breathing in. Let's activate this. Morakia, sirakurati, nerakia, sorkurati, nerakia, sorkurati, nerakia, sorkia, sorkurati, nerakurati, neraki, sorkurati, nerakurati, nerakia, sarakua. Breathing in and out. And just staying with the sensations. Breathing in what feels most aligned for you. Beautiful, my loves. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that you all feel more activated in your most divine inner mosaic self. Do get connected with Samantha. She's a hoot to really be connected with and following. And thank you so much, love, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to connecting again soon.
Yay!